Wasabi wallet. Unfairly private.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. I can see people already piling into the stream. This is yet another episode of Why Are We Bullish? We've got a great stream of guests that will be joining me shortly here. We're going to get rolling on this. Very excited. But without further ado, let's get this thing going.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
All right. So as I said, this is Why Are We Bullish? Again, getting used to the live streaming here on Restream. And, you know, it's always a work in progress. So barring any catastrophic things, I always preface it with this. We're doing it live, as my friend likes to say.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
That may happen. It might happen. We will see. I don't know. But anyways, let's take a look at where we're at. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully everybody's seeing this. Again, the other day, some technical difficulties, but I have the BitBo dashboard up here. We're sitting at around $18,630. We've seen a little bit of a bump earlier today. And as far as sats per dollar, what are you going to be picking up? Sats per dollar, you're going to be picking up around 5,367 sats per dollar. That is going down. Stack those sats while you can. As far as fee estimates, if you're trying to get a transaction through super quick, next block, it's going to be 53 sats per byte. If you're willing to wait an hour, 10 sats will do you. And if you're willing to wait a day or beyond, you could be looking at around 1 sat per byte. So not bad. 88.33% of all Bitcoin has been mined as of today. Just a reminder that as of December 15th, 2021, next year, 90% of the supply mined and gone. We mentioned this last show, but Bitcoin treasuries, this is my new favorite metric to look at. Companies reporting Bitcoin holdings, 23 of them. 842,351 Bitcoin held in treasuries. Percentage of total Bitcoin held in treasuries, just over 4%. And that comes in at about $15.68 billion. Crazy. I have a feeling that metric is going to matter a lot this bull run. It's going to be crazy. Now, before we dive into the actual show, of course, got to give a shout out to sponsors of the show. LEDN.io, this is where you can use your Bitcoin for a variety of different services. They've saved my ass on more than one occasion. So if you're in a pinch and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because that's a taxable event and you're worried about having to buy back in at a higher price, could be for you if you're looking at a Bitcoin backed loan. They've also got Bitcoin and USDC savings accounts, and they've got their B2X offering, which uses the same loan mechanism to instantly buy more Bitcoin. You can check them out in the link down below. If you opt to get one of their loan products through that, they'll give you 25 bucks directly into your savings right off the bat. Now, up next, these guys are killing it. I just tweeted out, these guys are fucking killing it. Crypto Cloaks, they are hardcore Bitcoiners making swag with their 3D printers, and they've got a fleet of them. I've got my Node Shell. I've got the Bitcoin Grenade on the way, as well as the Triton. They've got the Citadel flag, sticker packs, covers for your hardware, all of that good stuff. Go check them out, cryptocloaks.com, and use code BTC Sessions at checkout for 5% off. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Cobo Vault, their Black Friday sale, is starting now. Now, if you have not hit it, if you've been holding off on checking out Cobo, now is the time. They've got their deal on now. If you don't know about Cobo, it's moved into one of my regularly used hardware wallets, fully air-gapped. That means that you never plug it into an internet-connected device. Everything over QR code. I love the thing. You can get the Bitcoin only firmware, and it works with all of my favorite wallets, particularly Blue on mobile, Wasabi on desktop. So be sure to check out. There's a link down below for that sale. And finally, if you live on Bitcoin like I do, I made that leap. I'm as all in as you can get. Bitrefill is a godsend because I need to eat. I need gas. I need those things. And I can shop with Bitcoin because I don't want that filthy fiat. I don't take it anymore. I earn all of my income in Bitcoin, and I earn sats back while I do it. So be sure to check out Bitrefill. There is a link in the show notes down below. And that's it. There's my ad reads out of the way. We are diving in. I'm going to start bringing in some of my friends here. We've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3. All right, welcome, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Good. It's a great day.
Good.
Awesome. So I'm gonna go down the line. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves. By the way, I may as well double check because who knows, the chat might be blown up. Were you guys able to see and hear all that stuff that I just said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Side, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I didn't screw up too badly here. So, anyways, we're gonna dive in. I see people in the chat already chatting it up. I will be highlighting some of those comments. So you guys live on YouTube or wherever you're watching this from, feel free to drop insights into what we're saying, and I will be bringing them up on the screen. Like who am I bringing up here? Krister, he says hi. But I'm going to be doing that all show. Whoever has insightful stuff to say, maybe beyond hi, I will bring it up. But anyways, I'll start with you, Brian. Can you introduce yourself, let people know who you are?
Sure. Cool. Thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Brian Lockhart. You might know me from Twitter. It's where I do my most quality shit posting. I am in Seattle area, Washington, USA. I run the Seattle Bitcoin meetup. I'm here to help celebrate the pumpitude that we're experiencing today. I've got my lucky Genesis mug. I've got a Crypto Cloaks grenade ready to blow up a bear behind me when we cross our all-time high. Got my nodes humming in the background there. I used to work at Casa, so I'm partial to Casa nodes. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Oh, I got my lucky hollow shirt.
Oh, perfect. You are swagged out. I love it. Anders, welcome to the show. You're no stranger to the show. Can you let everybody know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Twitter, Danish Huddle, or AKA Anders, my first name. My background is I'm an economist. I've always, it seems, had a good luck with investments. But I came across Bitcoin not looking for an investment, but because I felt there was a problem with the monetary system. I felt there is the central bank is an issue. So that's where I came across Bitcoin, because someone in a video looking at that brought it up. So what I do today is I run the Toxic Happy Hour on YouTube together with my co-host Poplord.Hodl. We've been doing this for a little while. You've been on once, and we're looking forward to have you back on again soon. And then on eToro, where it's called social investing. So it is basically different traders or popular investors make their trades. Everything is public information. And then, people who feel that maybe they don't know what to do, they can go in and read our analysis and say, hey, I'm going to allocate my $1,000 to this guy or this girl or whatever. And then whatever I do in real time is done in these copiers' portfolios. And it's been going really well there. We'll get into that later because it's part of one of the reasons why I'm bullish. So eToro, Twitter, I'm very active. Toxic Happy Hour on YouTube. And the reason I'm wearing this, because on the Toxic Happy Hour, we just had 2 pro bowlers from Tampa, Florida, footballers, and they're Bitcoiners as well. So we're talking about, football, Bitcoin, and the other people in the club, and, that whole interaction with between Bitcoin and other Bitcoiners and other people.
Awesome. Well, welcome, and I will pass it off to our last guest. Lixon, can you let everybody know who you are, what you're all about?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ben. I'm Li Xin. I'm the creator of Cobo Vault, and just as mentioned by Ben, that we just started our Black Friday campaign today, and it's like 5 a.m. here, so I didn't sleep too much because of I did a lot of customer service for our users for the Black Friday campaign. So if I'm not in a good vibe, please forgive me. And also, I'm a really proud father. So it's 5 a.m. here. So if I wake up my son, and if he came out from that door, maybe he need to steal me from you guys for a few minutes.
That is,
so,
yeah. I know the
from that
feeling.
direction.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Who knows? We might have a visit from my daughter at some point too. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
gentlemen, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you all here. And the whole idea of the show is, why are we bullish? And this can be a current event. This can be just a new technology or something happening in the Bitcoin space, or it can just be a general feeling. It could be really anything. But the whole point is Bitcoiners tend to, in general, over the long term, be very bullish regardless of what's going on. It just happens to be a bullish day regardless. So I'll start us off with a topic that we can riff on, and then we'll go down the line and everybody can give their reason once we riff on each topic. So I'm going to start us off. One of the things that has me very bullish this time around, because it seems, I mean, we're very close to previous all-time highs. It seems like we're leading into another kind of 2017 style bull run. But this time around, there is so much excellent educational content, and I'm really bullish on the proliferation of these really in-depth thinkers in the Bitcoin space. You get your Robert Breedloves and your Parker Lewises that are putting out these pieces that are quite insightful and look into different ways of thinking about Bitcoin and considering it and its implications. Even like John K. Vallis was on the show, I think it was last week. And again, really solid thinker in the space, and asked a lot of good questions when it comes to not just what is Bitcoin and why is it bullish, but what are the greater implications on society as a whole if Bitcoin really is utilized by everyone. And so seeing content like that come out and it being able to proliferate on top of educational content. Now, I know I'm a little bit tooting my own horn here when it comes to educational content, but when I first started my show, there was not a whole lot that people could go to. You know, there was some more technical stuff there, but there wasn't a lot. Now there's tons of people offering tutorials and great ways to learn about what you're using and how to do proper security. I think it's incredible. And I think that people coming into the space, even though there's a lot of information to parse through, they're going to be in a much better place than they would have been 3-4 years ago. So I'll pass this down the line. Anybody can jump in if you have some thoughts there, but take it away, anybody.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo just what Ben said about the educational part, because I'm making hardware wallet. I'm talking to very hardcore Bitcoiners like Ben, like Brian, like Anders, and also I'm talking to a lot of like daily hodlers. So I feel like that. For the bullish run, I feel like the user experience of Bitcoin is really important. Just to echo the Ben said, the educational stuff. The user experience is really important. We can see that a lot of like it's easier and easier for people to buy Bitcoin even without KYC information, and also it's easier and easier for people to hodling, like using software wallets and hardware wallets. And also you guys can see like for hardware wallets like Codecard and us, we really appreciate the interoperability of the hardware. So you can use anything, like you can use the hardware with any software wallets. I think the user experience is really important for the mass adoption of Bitcoin. And also I can see that for the user experience part, I can see that also this year. I think you guys must have seen that a lot of like multi-signature stuff are coming out. So it's easier. It's much easier and much safer for people to do self-custody with multi-signature. So this is the most, because I talk to hardcore Bitcoiners, maybe they're like, just like Brian, we had a conversation on Twitter before, just like Brian, who's a big believer for Taproot. I think hardcore Bitcoiners really like that. But for really average users, the user experience, the most basic educational stuff for them is really important. Here, the educational stuff, I mean, for example, they will ask questions for me like, what if the hardware wallet is broken? How should I recover my Bitcoin? This kind of question. So from my standing point, user experience and educational stuff, that's really, really important for the bullish run. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Anybody else want to jump in? Brian, Anders, whoever?
Sure. So, I mean, like, I'll echo the I guess not concerns, but like I'm appreciative of the strides that have been made in the last couple of years since the 2016-17 era in making it easier for normies, like regular people that aren't tech nerds. Like I came into Bitcoin from a hard engineering background, and so I indexed on it from a technical perspective, probably a lot like Linson did. And so it's important to not forget that you're not always the customer of the things that you're making. And what is important to you might be so far in the weeds to a lot of people that are just coming to Bitcoin for whatever other reason. And so like in the last couple of years during the bear market, we really made a lot of strides with bridging that gap and making it easier with education channels like yours, Ben. I remember like I would hand off a lot of people towards your YouTube channel because you explain things so much more eloquently than I could in layman's terms than I could. So I would get into conversations with people at meetups, and then I would say, let me follow up with you on that. I would find one of your videos and toss them to you. So because you were just much better delivering those kind of messages. And actually I've stolen your sound bites numerous times as you explain things better.
Well, that's great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, well, it helps the whole ecosystem. And then, like, I think we got kind of surprised, like in a positive way. But we've been busting our ass building this better UX, better tools, like make it easier than ever to run your own node. Make it easier than ever to have like a high-end hardware wallet. It's getting there, so normie can do multi-sig. I don't think it's quite there yet, but it's way better than it used to be.
Close.
It's getting there. It's getting there. And so here we are building all this great UX. And then like, I don't know if you saw Neil Woodfine on Twitter. He made this great snarky tweet like, boy, sure glad we spent all that time developing on making UX better. Because really, we just got snuck up on here by people that are all into it for sound money and store of value. And so we have all these institutional guys, our treasury buys. We talk about that. And I suspect, I'm sure a lot of people do, I know they do, that is a big, strong, steady driver in this rally. We've got people that have gotten on, Michael Saylor flipped a bit and figured it out. There's other people that are doing it that aren't being so public about it, but people are making these larger buys. And these aren't people that are looking at it for medium exchange, unit of account, any of that kind of stuff. They're not going to be out like trading it with people, even on exchanges. They're not going to be using it to buy coffee anytime soon. They're looking at this as a store of value. I guess that's good, though. I mean, it's a very powerful narrative. And if it brings more people into the space and it moves Bitcoin as a whole further on that evolution of money continuum, from collectible to store of value to medium of exchange to unit of account. Like we are still in the very early stages of it. And the sooner we get into a solid store of value phase, the better, I think. And maybe this era is the one that happens. It's not going to stop me and others from building better UX, though.
Yeah, 100%. Anders, what about you? What are your thoughts on kind of the state of content, education, utilities for newcomers to utilize this time around?
Well, I just want to echo Brian here that this stuff that you put out of educational content, I'm really sending people now every day to your channel because you make it easy. I love what you do. It's phenomenal. I don't need to tell your viewers right now because they all know that. That's why they're here. But I'm trying to send you some new people. So I feel it's getting better and better and more user-friendly. It's not quite there yet at the level where it's easy for my mom at all. But Yeah, are you asking now also what's making us bullish, or are we doing sort of like?
Well, let's wrap this one.
Yeah, sure.
So, any last thoughts on this, and then we'll get into another topic.
I mean, we're getting there. So in terms of usability and content, I say just people sign up for your channel and watch all your videos, and then it will get easier. But I would say where there's a will, there's a way. So even though it's not super easy now, if somebody wants Bitcoin, they can educate themselves and get some Bitcoin.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Now, we are going to jump into another topic here. I'll pass it off to one of you guys to let everybody know why you're bullish. But before I do that, I did want to say, currently we have just shy of 60 people watching live. If you're watching on YouTube, please do smash the thumbs up, the like button, because it gets the video in front of a lot more people. It appeases the algorithmic gods over at YouTube. So be sure to do that. And if you're watching this on Twitter or whatever, you can give it a retweet. It really, really does help. But welcome. And if you're in the chat, drop more chats. I'll bring them up and we can chat a little bit about them in the show. But I guess since you just had the horn, I'm going to give it to Anders. Anders, maybe you want to chat about why you're bullish, and I believe it relates to a little bit of what you do.
Yes. So absolutely. So on eToro, I'm 100% focused Bitcoiner competing against. You could say you're competing on performance against people that have more of multi-coin, to speak nicely, in their portfolios, and it's very bullish for me. I was saying it since summer actually to people. Look, you think now that everything else is going to go up just because Bitcoin is going to go up, but don't forget that it's the lack of supply that is driving Bitcoin higher. The others don't have that lack of supply that Bitcoin has. They didn't have the halving to the same extent. So for that reason, I said, look, don't expect these altcoins, dirt coins, whatever, to follow suit. Which
you could
has
swear, that's fine.
Okay, shit coins. So that has, hey, yeah, we do the same on my channel, but I don't want to go break your rules here. But so on eToro, where I'm competing against these guys, around the beginning of October, me, thanks to Bitcoin, so it's really Bitcoin outperforming. I just have that 100% focus on Bitcoin. Bitcoin put me ahead performance-wise of those other popular investors. We were neck and neck around I think 80% in 12 years performance, which basically was what Bitcoin had done. And at the time that you had me on your channel, which was the 8th of October, at least that's where you published it. At that time, I had around $300,000 under management, and I was the second most copied investor. I was neck and neck with number one. Since then, thanks to Bitcoin, his performance, because he's everywhere, it's 81%. Bitcoin has helped my 12 months performance to go to 119%. So why the altcoin portfolios that I'm competing with have been flat in terms of popularity, mine has gone as parabolic as the Bitcoin price. So I checked a few days ago. I had $1.3 million under management, and that has now gone up with 100,000, like 300,000 since 3 days ago, which is it's really telling. And we didn't even reach all-time high. So the Bitcoin is proving itself on the price performance compared to shitcoins that it just is better. It has the lack of supply. It has the future. We're at the beginning of the bull run. We didn't even pass the all-time high. And I'm seeing this kind of influx of people who want to allocate to what is best performing, which happens to be Bitcoin. So to me, to be here at this stage now is kind of mind-blowing, and I'm very ecstatic about that. So that's one thing. And the other thing that has me, yesterday, I believe it was, I changed my target that I mentioned on your channel on that show where you were kind to have me on, where I had my target as I believe we will cross 200,000. But I sent a graph in our group chat here for the show yesterday. I don't know if you can or want to bring it up. Otherwise, I have it here. It's right.
Yeah.
So the tallest one, the black one, is from the first halving response, which was a very, very solid. And because stock to flow was accelerating higher back then, for each epoch, it has been still going, very fast up, but not as fast as in the beginning because we came off zero. So it's been a very good case for saying, which is what I said on your show, that look, each bull run, it gets longer and it gets a little bit less steep. However, if you look at the 2016-17, which is the blue one, then exactly right now the red one, which according to me is supposed to be below the blue one, it's actually outperforming, which to me, my conclusion is, well, first of all, it does make me look a little bit, stupid because I said it's going to be less steep and it's not. But what my conclusion is that the amount of quantitative easing on steroids that we're seeing because of COVID is it's taking this graph higher. So in my perspective, this graph right now not only is higher, but it's still going to be longer. So that target of 200,000 plus, I have now changed to 300,000 plus, I would say, for this bull run. And that I expect to see that, let's say, first Q1, latest Q2 2022. But at the same time, I will say that the risk, as I described back in that show, Ben, the risk of hyper-Bitcoinization, hyperinflation, fiat currency collapse, which are all three the same thing, the risk of that happening in this epoch before the next 2024 halving, in my opinion, has gone from 15% to 25%. So that risk of global fiat currency collapse is more real now. And that's why, we could go parabolic and not have another bear market. I still believe it's more likely that we will have a bear market. I give that 75%. But we could just, end up going to the millions before the next halving. I'm bullish.
I love that you're so those unclear on what's going on here. Danish Huddle here, Andrews here. His whole strategy is just hold Bitcoin, and it's gotten him as the #1 followed eToro trader. It's I mean, I think most people watching would agree that's probably the best way to go about it. It's just hilarious that
I guess I could be a trader. I could be second place to him.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so easy. I got to pinch myself.
Yeah. It's super funny. Basically what you're saying is you're seeing a lot of people pile in to the Bitcoin only trade. They're piling in and banking on just Bitcoin. So are you thinking, I guess I'll put this question out to everybody here. I still think that there's going to be some of the alt FOMO this time around. There's going to be some of it, but I don't think it will be quite as pronounced. Like there's a few things I don't think are going to happen. Last time around 2017, there were like 2-3 coins that all threatened the flippening. We saw Ethereum do it. Ethereum came the closest, but couldn't quite. I think it got to like 75% in terms of market cap. We had the drama with Bcash where, even though it was kind of artificially pumped up, there was a little bit of worry there where people were like, whoa, what if they actually start to grow? And then, nobody gave it any credence, but XRP were always screaming flippening, which I think those people have all gone back to their cave. But regardless, I don't think there's going to be anything that really is decipherable as even having a chance at doing a flippening. I don't think we'll see Ethereum get to its previous all-time high in terms of Bitcoin. Dollars, yeah, maybe. But in terms of Bitcoin, I think people bleed sats when they play these games, trading back and forth between other coins. And if you're long term, if you have a low time preference, then Bitcoin is for you. And that's what I am all about, and that's what this show is all about, is thinking for the long term and not rolling the dice. So I don't know if anybody has anything to tag onto that.
Yeah, Yeah, actually, because I'm making hardware, so I always tell my team. For example, previously DeFi was really hot, and my team was asking me that should we get into DeFi and let our Cobo Vault supporting DeFi. I just said no. I just said that for hardware, it's quite a long-term thing, because for software wallet, you like iterate it every week, but for hardware, the manufacturing, the logistics, everything make everything slow. For example, you develop a hardware wallet, it may takes you 1 to 2 years. Otherwise, for a software wallet, it maybe only take weeks. So I always tell my team that you always take the compound from the compound interest thing from our product. And we also have the mentality that we should take the compound interest rather than take some very like quick time, very quick interest or quick gain from either your portfolio or your effort or your daily work, this kind of thing. So for hardware, our mentality is really compound. I think that really aligns with the mentality of Bitcoin. So when Anders was introducing his portfolio for eToro, I was thinking that if I were a eToro investor, I would definitely take Anders' portfolio because I'm a long-term investor. If you are a long-term investor, you have to take on the most long-term guy on eToro and also focus on the long-term value for that. I think that's the most people. I was really some days ago, I think a tweet by CK. He said that the most hard thing for Bitcoiners is just doing nothing. I think that's really smart. I said that you just do nothing and let the holy light of time shines on your orange coin. That's what you should do. Yeah,
I love that.
You should do nothing and put your money on Anders' portfolio and let the holy light of time shines on that portfolio. That's my point.
I tell people that like I was fortunate enough to trip into Bitcoin fairly early, and then the best thing I ever did with it was I quit my job at Microsoft to go join a startup, and I just had tunnel vision for 5 years, and I just had no time for my hobby, and I just forgot all about Bitcoin. But come up for air, hey, whoa, look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say when in regards to the hardware front, you know, last bull run and kind of going into the bear market and everything, I did have a lot of people send me devices to play around with and potentially do videos on, and by and large, I found a lot of the ones that I was getting, especially after we were starting to dither out from the bull market, everybody had built and marketed based upon, you know, we have to add every coin. That was the goal. It was like, oh, this is hot right now, add that. This is hot, add that. But then I would go and I try to use it with Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, they haven't added SegWit, you know, they haven't done this and that. There's no replace by fee. There's no manual fee entry. There's like all of these different things that I wanted for Bitcoin was pushed to the sideline because it was let's add more coins. And so, you know, when I started chatting with you guys at Cobo, that was the first thing I noticed because I used one of the older Cobos, and then you were like, listen, we've made some changes. We've kind of changed the trajectory of what we're doing, and I played with my Cobo, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can use this with Blue Wallet. I can use it with Electrum and Bitcoin Core and Wasabi, and they have like RBF, and they have like you know, they're using Bec32 addresses, and all of these things that were actually important to me were right in front of me, and I could actually utilize. And so that's why I kind of came to love using my Cobo. And I think, as you alluded to, it's the long-term choice. It's the, you know, people don't want to know if they don't want to be wondering, am I going to be able to use Bitcoin efficiently, or am I not, because this company decides to spend all of their time trying to support every fork and every, you know, random token under the sun, instead of devoting those man hours to making, Bitcoin first and foremost the most efficiently used. And that's kind of the direction that I feel you guys are going. So again, to Anders' point, as far as allocation can also refer to man hours and educating yourself and a lot of different things. So I think that laser focus, it does better for everybody. But I'll let Brian tag on there anywhere if you want to touch on it as well.
Like I can echo a little bit about that. Like if you make a decision to support X number of things instead of one coin, for example, you're just signing up for a future of hell. Like from a software and hardware perspective, the hardware engineering, that's a high cost of failure, and you really got to get it right because there's at least 18-month cycles there. Software, it's cheaper, but still you're spreading your team across more things, and you're just building tech debt on all those different lanes. And then, oh my gosh, okay, I was making traction on this, but now all of a sudden there's a security vulnerability. I got to turn my pivot and go over and worry about that now. Like imagine what it's like for a shitcoin casino of an exchange. You have to run all these nodes, and not all nodes are created equal. Some are very reliable and rugged and just don't fall over, and others just require constant handholding. I've talked to some guys that work in casinos, and they just tell me the horror stories of maintaining nodes for all these different coins. And there's a definite penalty to multi-coinism.
100%.
I want to bounce back to something Danish Hodl was saying about how of the three lines and how they're similar, but the current one is seemingly spiking harder earlier. I got a theory that not to be derisive, but smart money versus dumb money, like institutional versus retail. I think that we're getting this like goose from smart money, earlier, bigger institutional guys. They're coming in and maybe just setting the floor higher before the retail spike or FOMO, if there is to be one, hits. And I'm basing that just off intuition and seeing what's going on out there, and also just in my own in real life experiences. I have yet to see the regular, casual, retail type interested people, like my friends coming up and reaching to ping me about something, like the Google or Microsoft or Amazon employee in my neighborhood that knows I'm the Bitcoin nerd, and they reach out to ping me. That hasn't started to happen yet, but I am getting the guy I know who works for a family office talking to me. So it's like, okay, so I think that might be explaining that spike in the red line. And maybe when those guys are done or they're done eating for a while, then it starts to slow up, and then we get whatever retail hit happens after that. Maybe.
I think that there's something different this time around. That's for sure.
Sure.
And part of it is narrative, and then who that narrative is pulling in. And right now, again, you're just starting, at least me personally, I'm just starting to see the hints of some kind of normies or like retail style people starting to maybe, but not even really that interested. But you do see, and you're seeing it all over, major news programs and your CNBCs and your Bloomberg and stuff like that. You see these people running hedge funds talking about this. You see these macro thinkers that are talking about this, and the average person, isn't really in tune with like macroeconomics, but these guys know, and they're, we've seen one of the most bullish charts that I've seen was the price in relation to Google search volume, and Google search volume is effectively no different than what it was like prior or like well after the spike or well before the spike in 2017. So we really haven't seen that retail style FOMO. So it's very interesting, and I definitely think you could be right where an early floor is being set to very little fanfare, and now
I think also, like, not to be too much of a downer about it, but I think that just regular people, like smart money, the institutional guys, that's their job. They're doing well in this world no matter what. But out in the real world right now with COVID and shutdowns and economic struggles, the regular people they got a lot on their mind right now, and a lot of them are getting pummeled. And so they don't have free cycles as much as they might otherwise to be thinking about, hey, what's some fun money investing I could do? So maybe that retail FOMO is kind of on hold because of all the macro pain that's going on out there. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we're gonna dive into another topic here. I will say there are around 75 people watching live right now. If you're on YouTube, for sure, smash that like button. That really helps these videos get in front of more eyeballs. Smash, yes,
Smash here.
over and over, smash it. And give it if you're on Twitter, wherever, give it a share, give it a retweet, whatever you do. It all helps. So thank you for doing that. And if you're in the chat, drop some gems like Frank here, who says he says, "Pack it up, loser. Bitcoin is done." Well, Frank said it, so I guess it's over. So I guess, guys, sorry, let's end the stream early. I think it's over. Too bad. We're only up, what are we on the
dead
month?
for 200 times or 300 times.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
this is painful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We're literally, over the past month, we're only up $5,739. I think he's right. It's turning around. It's about to dive. But anyways, let's dive into another topic here. I'm gonna, maybe Brian, I'll let you take it up. What has you bullish these days? What are you excited about?
I touched on it a little bit, and as opposed to the last time we had a hard fork or a major update to Bitcoin, I'm not talking about like Bitcoin Cash forking off anything like that. I'm talking about how the big blocker versus small blocker debate, which turned into Bitcoin Cash, like how hard was it to get SegWit in there? Like that was a very contentious period to make a technical change to Bitcoin. The only thing similar going on right now is Taproot, which if you look around, like Lixon follows this probably too, there is zero conflicts going on right now for this. I've been following it on the dev list, and like nobody is contentious about it at all. There's been some minor discussions about how to signal for it and how to activate it and what method to take, but nobody is vehemently against it. And so that for me is bullish in that, oh my gosh, we're not gonna have a fight here. It's just gonna go, and hopefully it's just like it's a non-event. How nice would that be? So like that's a weird reason to be bullish, but as a software nerd, that's a good thing. Like just if you're building a foundation and it just works, that's awesome.
Yeah, and to tag on to that, like even outside of the actual activation of Taproot itself and what those implications are, but just the idea that I think a lot of the most contentious individuals forked up with Bitcoin Cash, and we've seen it play out again and again. So rather than try and find consensus around something, and if you're not part of consensus, conceding and going along with it, we've seen that from somebody like Luke Dash Jr. He's like, well, I would prefer 300 kilobyte blocks instead of 1 megabyte blocks. But I also, yeah, exactly. But he says, I also concede that that's probably not going to get consensus. But this is Bitcoin. This is what it is. And so the individuals that could not settle for that, I mean, sure, they're absolutely free to go off and do their own thing. Albeit, I will say that the tactic of trying to say that it was Bitcoin was a tad malicious. But besides the fact, we've seen kind of that mentality of, if I don't get my way, I'm going to fork again, happen multiple times now, right? We saw it where, Bitcoin Cash splits, then we see it with Bitcoin SV splitting off that. And then we see Bitcoin Cash splitting yet again into, I don't even know what the state of that is now.
I think,
Yeah. But again, like, I think you're right in that the contentious nature of some of those individuals, if it wasn't that, it was going to be something else. And it has been multiple times. Whereas I think Bitcoiners it's a meritocracy. And if a good idea bubbles to the surface, and we're not going to throw it in overnight, and we're going to be very conscious and careful about it. And if it doesn't gain consensus, it's status quo, right? And that's kind of the concession that you make when using Bitcoin. And I think people are less ready to split over anything that's on the table right now. And I look forward to the day, honestly, where Bitcoin ossifies and where we just got our solid base and that's it. But it's nice getting in things like Taproot while it's still malleable enough in a backwards compatible way.
Yeah. So, and I think as long as the project continues to attract fresh talent to come in, And I've had this conversation with folks. Like, there's a lot of developers, and it's whatever, judgmental to say this, but I think a lot of young developers, especially, they want to work on run fast, break things type attitude. They want to make quick changes and make really visible, splashy things. And of course, there's a lot of you get a lot of reward for doing that. And it's less sexy to work on some plumbing in the back end of something. So you need, if you're a developer working on something like that, you need to take your own reward in knowing that, okay, I'm making this system rock solid, bulletproof, scalable, etc. And that's sexy in its own way. And I think as long as this project, as it matures and gets towards ossification, there's people that are still incentivized and want to keep working on that stuff. Bitcoin will be healthy as hell.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I think if I don't know if you guys want to tag on to the idea of contentious forks or Taproot in itself, or any like upgrades, or I guess the lack of contention with some stuff that's on the table there. If you guys have anything to say about it, or just general feelings.
Yeah, to be honest, previously I think that Taproot was not it's not. Don't take the personally. I just didn't think that Taproot was a huge driver for the bullish run. But actually, something from Brian really changed my mind, because Brian just said that Taproot is attracting a lot of talented developers into the community. I think that's really, really important. And also that echoes with my previous point that the developers are making the community better and making the user experience better, and making more and more people using Bitcoin and using the wallets product and everything. So yeah, I really think that Taproot maybe, also the developers in our team, they are really fascinated with Taproot, and they're talking about every week. Yeah, we have free talks every week. They share Taproot like several times. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I really echo with that.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like a year ago, 2 years ago, we were really all excited about Lightning. And now it's like, oh, come on, now it's about store of value. I thought we were doing payments here. And I do think Lightning's going to continue to develop, and it's gotten a lot more stable. Yes. But on layer 1, you've got Taproot coming with all it entails. And then on layer 2 is continuing to mature. I don't think layer 2 will ossify for quite a while, but it's not expected to yet.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm bullish on Lightning, just in that up until Lightning kind of got to where it is right now, I was worried about this bull run, people coming into Bitcoin and not being able to, especially if they're trying to dabble, right? They're trying to get small amounts of Bitcoin and practice and send. I was worried that wasn't going to be possible with Bitcoin, and that Lightning would not be user-friendly enough to be ready. But that now, depending on what you're using, Lightning, it's very different from when I first started playing with it. So in 2018, I got one of the first mobile Bitcoin wallets. I didn't understand what a channel was or how to set one up, and I had to dick around and figure it out. Now, yes, you have custodial solutions, which are super easy, but there's the trade-off there. But if you want somebody to just see, oh wow, that was fast, then sure, you can go that route. But you also now have kind of that middle ground where it's not custodial, where you are technically running your own Lightning node on your phone, and just a lot of the heavy lifting is automated in the back. So you have something like Breeze Wallet or Phoenix Wallet, where you can swap into and out of Lightning without even having to tell it what to do. You just scan the QR code in front of you, and it just works.
Figure it out. That's how it should be.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, and I think it's great.
Do you remember when you and I first we did a manually balanced channel between each other back in the day, just because that was the only way to do it. You had to know the guy on the other end, and you had to say, okay, I'm going to send you this much on chain, and then you send me this much back in Lightning. Okay, now we have a balanced channel. That's how janky it was back then.
Yeah, and now some people will drop some sats on like my tip-in page, and I'll just pull that off every single, even if it's like $1, I can pull it off, and it costs nothing to do so, or like 1 sat or something like that. And I can and then that ends up being my, like, if I tip other people, or if I want to go like buy a sticker pack, or like get a copy of Citadel 21 or something. Like, I can go do that and not have to be like, oh, what am I going to pay in fees to make this transaction? Or like, if I, again, like I was talking about, I use Bitrefill to kind of bridge some of those gaps where it might be difficult for me to survive, because I am 100% Bitcoin now. Now I can, I go make a lightning payment there, and it's super, super easy. And I'm not having to deal with channels whatsoever. And I'm not using the custodial solutions. I'm using Breeze right now. I was using Phoenix for a long time, and it kind of all gets done for you, but you're not giving somebody custody of your money at the same time. So it's come a long way, and I think it's getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, just a side note, Cobo Vault website also accept Lightning.
Ah, there you go.
Yes.
Nice.
That's an important thing. It's funny because people laugh at it, but it's an important thing. And I think more vendors, and on top of that, more exchanges need to get on board with this, because it's not going to be sustainable if somebody wants to come make a $50 buy and pull it off the exchange. Either the exchange is going to be fronting that fee, which again, they're not going to be able to, or you're going to have to explain to your customer why, to get their $50 off, it costs them 20% of that value. People don't understand that it's a computational limitation as opposed to a percentage of the value. And that's how they're going to look at it. So you got to say, well, you can pull it on chain, or you could do Lightning, or maybe even Liquid. Like, there's got to be options there. And I think you're going to see more exchanges having to figure that shit out this time around.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it needs to mature to the point where an end user doesn't even have to think about it. They just specify an amount and a destination, and the wallet figures it out. And it'll get there.
100%. I'm gonna just really quick, two things, questions here. VKS. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Anyways, I'm running Bitcoin Core from my laptop. Should I use a VPN or Tor? Thoughts? I mean, like Tor, I always find to be something that's worth running. VPN, whatever your poison, something to obfuscate, where your node is never a bad idea. But if you don't do it, it kind of depends on how paranoid you are, really, I suppose. But erring on the side of privacy is never a bad thing, because you can't go back retroactively and improve the privacy that you've already lost. So yeah, I would err on the side of being more private than not. And then Danish Hodl, I thought about your comment. You think bull runs take every epoch longer. Can you explain it once? So I think the person is asking in regards to Bitcoin epochs, like what is a Bitcoin epoch, and why is it longer, so on and so forth.
Right. So each epoch, it really is the time between the halvings, where the first epoch for almost 4 years, when each block rewarded a miner with 50 Bitcoin each time it was found. And then that became 25 in the second epoch, 12 and a half in the third, and now we have 6.25 in the fourth epoch. So the reason why, actually, I highly recommend to go back and look at BTC Sessions episode where you interview me, because we go in depth on this for I think more than 1.5 hours, where I finally got a chance. Someone asked me, and I really could lay out my whole thesis. I really appreciate that, Ben. So basically, the reason why they get longer, in my opinion, is that the stock to flow, which Plan B has, I would say, more or less proven, has a very high correlation with the price of Bitcoin. Stock to flow is how much stock do we have above ground compared to 1 year's supply. So it's the same as the 100 divided by the inflation rate. Then in the first epoch, the Genesis block, January 2009, the stock to flow was zero, because we came off, we didn't have any stock at all when Bitcoin started. The first 50 Bitcoin wasn't put into circulation. So what happened was, in the first epoch, the stock to flow went from 0 to 8, which means that basically went up by infinity. Of course, I mean, you could say after the first 10 minutes, the first block was there, and there was, the stock to flow was 0.000, very small. Anyways, from there to 8, let's just say very close to infinity. From the first halving to the second halving, stock to flow went up from 8 to 24. So it went up by a factor of 3. And if we, I think, can conclude from stock to flow more or less that stock to flow is what is pushing the price, because it's basically lower supply right now compared to what is out there being given word of mouth to other people, then as it is still accelerated a lot by a factor 3, it's still less than a factor infinity in the first epoch. So that those bull runs took some longer time, and then and that created the first halving bull run was 12 months. The last one was 18 months and less steep. And as I say, simply because stock to flow, it's still accelerating, it's still going up, but not as fast as in the beginning. So before this halving, stock to flow went up with a factor 2.33. So that thing we now have more or less statistical significance for being what is pushing price higher is giving a little bit less of a push. It's giving a lot of a push, but a lot of people think, oh, the halving means that stock to flow double every 4 years. No, it doesn't, because we came up from 0, so it is higher than doubling. In the end, in 2140, when we do the last halving, then the stock to flow will be pretty much doubling. Until then, it's coming down from infinity towards a doubling. So and it also explains why did we have, if the halving creates bull runs, why did we have bull runs and crashes before the first halving? Well, because it's not the halving that creates the bull run. The halving creates an increase in stock to flow, which creates the bull run. But initially, because we came from 0 to 8, there were many doublings of the stock to flow to go from 0 to 8. There were many. That's why we had bull runs initially. I saw also Jace. I saw your comment that I look confused and angry when the really smart technical people are talking about Taproot. Not at all. So my issue, and I'm being told from people, is that I have a very high passionate level. I'm very, very, very passionate about Bitcoin and the bull run. So when my mouth is like this, it's because I need to control myself and give other people space to talk. Because as you may hear, I can go on like this 72 hours without stop talking. I convince people I sit next to on the airplane. People I don't know. There's going to be like 3 random people that are not in connected with each other. Like, okay, when I land, I'm going to go buy some Bitcoin. So I don't know if I answered everything, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, we'll cap that one there. Hopefully, Jay, that was good. Also, I enjoyed bringing those. I'm glad you picked out that topic. I was gonna bring up his text, but I wasn't sure. Anyways, we're gonna riff on one more topic. Lichin, I will lead it to you. What has you bullish as of late?
Bullish. Okay. The improvement of the user experience of Bitcoin.
Cool. And so you're seeing this. I mean, you're working on it yourself. Are you seeing it other places than, like obviously your focus is building that user experience. Where else are you seeing improved user experience, like in your experience outside of even your own company?
I think buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Just buying Bitcoin. Yeah.
And
just
so
maybe we can see Bitcoin ATMs everywhere, this kind of thing. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's, how are Bitcoin, like I guess I'll throw it out to everybody, but is there a lot of Bitcoin ATMs where you are in the world? Like here in my city, I think there's 40 or 50 Bitcoin ATMs just in my city. So I don't know what it's like where you guys are.
We have CoinMe is based here in Seattle, and they make ATMs. And in the U.S., there's a company called Coinstar, where you can go into a grocery store and dump your spare change into a thing, and you get hard money out of it. So people use that, and they just did a deal with Coinstar. Coinstars are in almost every grocery store in cities, and so now people have the option, if they dump in their spare change, they can take it in Bitcoin. So I think between that and traditional ATMs, I think there's an uptick in ATMs. I don't have a good read on that. How about? I think I'm biased because I see CoinMe here in Seattle, but I don't know how much it fans out. So I don't know what it's like where Danish is.
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. I haven't paid a lot of attention to it because, like BTC sessions, my economy really is Bitcoin. So I'm not going out and purchasing a Bitcoin. So I'm not focused on the ATMs at all. But I think if I should think, what do I see out of the side of my eye? That it is expanding. Overall on ramps are expanding.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many ways to buy it on your phone now that weren't even around even like 6 months ago. Like a lot of them are using like Wire on the back end to do like a quick direct deposit or direct pull from your checking account, for example. Whereas used to be like not too long ago, you could only buy in the US off a Coinbase app. That was the biggest one. And then you get the other exchanges had their own apps. But now you have the ability to do it with some standalone apps that aren't tied to an exchange. Like the Casa wallet has it. I think
Swan.
that the Swan, of course. What is it?
River Finance.
Yeah, there's all these like not affiliated with an exchange, but give you a way to buy it. And so there's no excuse not to buy Bitcoin anymore.
I like the idea of instant custody for individuals, where it encourages them to quickly or immediately pull it off from any custodian and hold it themselves. And I think that's again making that easier for people. Again, like I just saw Swan introduced. You can use your XPub for whatever wallet you have, and it'll auto stack and go directly into whatever wallet it is with multiple different addresses. So that you just give them an XPub and they'll send it to you. Here in Canada, we've got Bull Bitcoin is a good one. You cannot custody with them. They require you to give them an address in order to purchase. Another good one, there's Bitcoin Solutions, which is pivoting their rebranding to Bitcoin Well, but they do a lot of the Bitcoin ATMs in my city, and their big thing is instant custody. ShakePay is another good one, and a lot of it's so much easier now. E-transfers you can send over, or cash, or whatever you're doing. That just those on ramps, they're starting to get a lot easier. And you see, I think the big thing that Bitcoiners, where we're going to have our work cut out for us, is to try and get people away from buying it on PayPal and not having access to it and being able to withdraw, stuff like that. It's in general, it's good that it gives more eyeballs, but then instantly we're going to have to be like, but don't use it. Go here instead.
Well, it's almost like GBTC. That's not Bitcoin. It represents Bitcoin. Like I'm a fan of GBTC, but I don't think it's Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I like it. It is definitely getting easier, and the wallets too. Like, Blue Wallet is killing it.
I got some more time trying that.
Yeah, it's like they're pumping out updates like crazy. They're going to have the multi-sig rollout for that on mobile soon. So I'm excited to play with because they already play nice with Cobo. So I'm excited to play with Cobo, like Cold Card and whatever my mystery third device ends up being in that setup. But it's getting easier for people to do that, and getting easier for people to secure things themselves. Whereas like you go back a few years and it just was not that way. And some of the practices were just not there. It's definitely come a long way to your point, Li-Shin. But I don't know if anybody has anything else to tag on to the evolution of user experience, or anything that you personally have found easier to use over time. I don't know. Does anybody have any insight there?
I just think that we were just in this general embarrassment of riches with really quality products and services out there. The hardware wallets are no longer niche. Like the Cobo Vault is pretty slick. It looks like a it looks like an entertainment device more than it does a security device, and that's a compliment, right? I mean, because it's beautiful. You want to look at it, and I think that the Trezor T, like the newer one with the screen, that's a step in that direction too. So the things are getting prettier and funner to use, etc., for the new user. And on the more bleeding edge, or not so pretty edge, multi-sig is getting a little less black magic. Like I still have people come and ask me, hey, can you give me a multi-sig demo? And I hesitate, just because I just don't want to give them a foot gun, because there's so many ways you can destroy yourself still with multi-sig. Like, and I'll show my former employer, I think Casa has done a really good job of like getting ahead of some of that stuff and making multi-sig idiot resistant. Just like there's no foot guns in there, and that was the whole idea. And I think as more and more services like that, Unchained is doing a good job too with Caravan. As more and more I guess custodian assistants, where they're not custodying your Bitcoin, but they're helping you custody it in a multi-sig fashion. I think that that's going to be a direction for people with more significant amounts of Bitcoin to go in, because even if you yourself can figure it out, what if you get hit by a bus? So that's the bigger thing. Like, if you got family and friends, you don't want to lose your coins and they're gone forever.
Yeah. And I think again, we're early enough where those best practices have not been developed yet, and the early Bitcoiners are forging the way, sometimes with lost coins, but it is definitely getting easier. That interoperability. I have a full playlist. I've so far done 5 videos on multi-sig. I've done the Caravan one, Electrum, Lily Wallet. So there's a whole bunch. Nunchuck was another one that I did. There's a Sparrow is on the way, but there's a whole bunch of different ones. Spectre, and inevitably there's some have all of the features you want, but then you go to export them and put it in something else and it doesn't quite work. And some are missing a lot of features, but so it's getting there, but there's definitely a lot of headway to be made, but you can see the trajectory happening. It's just waiting for it to actually come to fruition.
Yeah. It's not yet to the point where if I got taken out, my partner could read my document and she'd be fine, and just, I got it back. And she'd be like, oh, Jameson Lopp, how do I get a hold of that guy?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I've in a couple instances, I've defaulted my wife to, all right, if something happens to me, you call this guy. And I trust him enough that he'll help you out. I got BJ Bonaparte in my town. He'll help you. yeah, exactly. But it'll get to the point where it becomes easier, and we're seeing that play out. So I good point. It is definitely, I am bullish on the increased ease of use over time. And then I'll toss this out to all of you guys here, because it's just a quick question. People at VK again asking thoughts on GBTC for Bitcoin exposure in a 401k. What are you guys' thoughts on obviously it's not Bitcoin, but when you put it in a 401k, there's that tax deferral, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the US, you can, I haven't been working for a while, so all my stuff's in what are called rollover IRAs. But if you have a self-managed IRA, you could choose what instruments to put it into yourself. And so I myself have converted everything in them over to GBTC. I did it a while ago, and that felt like financial suicide at the time, or just like, oh man, maybe I should have some diversification in my portfolio. And it's like, because the downside is, if Grayscale gets hacked or goes poof, then the value of GBTC will probably plummet precipitously. And if you've got all your eggs in that one basket, I wouldn't really recommend that. But I would think of it as any other individual stock, maybe more risky, maybe not, but think of it as that. You will never get custody of Bitcoin by holding GBTC. You're just getting exposure to the price change. And currently there's a premium. And so you'll see the price of GBTC is roughly a percentage of Bitcoin Plus, I think right now the premium is like 16%. So don't
Yeah.
worry about that so much because you're not actually buying Bitcoin. You're just riding the price changes in Bitcoin. So
Yeah, it's funny because like when I think of diversification, like just looking at everything right now, again, you do get those inklings of, is this irresponsible? But then you're like, where else am I going to put my value? What am I looking at right now? Where else can I go? So for me, diversification means ways to hold my Bitcoin. I just got to diversify where I'm holding my Bitcoin.
Yeah, how much is in like deep cold storage versus multi-sig versus your mobile wallet versus GBTC exposure?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
How about
I
you
don't
guys?
know.
Do you guys use it too? I mean, I do just in my IRAs.
Andrews?
Yeah, so I would say if you have a 401k and GBTC is the only way you can get exposure, I'm all for it. I totally get what you've done, Brian, converting everything to GBTC. I think it's a great idea. Of course, there is that hack risk. I'm pretty sure they got it locked down well, especially an American company with more regulation, and they're not allowed
Yeah.
to do that with a big risk if they're listed on Wall Street. So you touched upon, both of you, on something really interesting about the risk of Bitcoin as an asset compared to stocks and the need to diversify. So what I will say is that, of course, there's a small risk somehow, very tiny, that Bitcoin value could disappear. I find it extremely unlikely, but of course, one asset is what it is. It is one asset. But what I will say is the conclusion that I have come to. Oh, we've got Greg Sash in the chat as well. That all other assets, I'm talking about all stocks, I'm talking about real estate, any other asset where people are storing value, but there's mostly those two, they don't have a risk of collapsing. It's a guarantee that these assets will collapse. And let me explain why. So as right now, the only reason that stocks and real estate has exploded despite the economy is going down is because nobody wants to hold fiat currencies. So they act as a store of value, real estate and stocks. That's the reason they've gone up in price. The only reason, and so it's because the money supply is expanding drastically, like at a clown level, and then at the same time, the interest rate is kept at a extremely artificial 0% or negative in some countries, or 0.25%. That is not the market interest rate of lending out your money and what kind of return you want to get when you have a risk. So where I want to go with this, my point is, Bitcoin will replace fiat currency. In my mind, there's zero doubt about that. As Bitcoin becomes the world money, and I just want to touch upon my end target that we also spoke about in that video, Ben, it's still $20 million per Bitcoin as the purchasing power. Essentially, it will be infinity because fiat will be collapsed, totally gone. But when Bitcoin becomes money, you can't have a committee, by the way, communist style, in a central bank, 5-7 people who's supposed to know better and make an interest rate zero or negative. That will become the market interest rate. Now, what happens when Bitcoin is money and the interest rate all of a sudden cannot be kept artificially zero, but becomes market where it maybe is 5%, 8%, all the assets that currently are artificially inflated because the artificially 0% interest rate will come crashing down. If you want to relate it to your own situation, if you have a mortgage and you have houses, you have seen that when the interest rate on mortgages come down, house prices go up. My point is that there is a pretty much near 100% guarantee that stocks and real estate will experience, I would say, probably something like a 1929 type of crash as Bitcoin becomes money of the world because the interest rates are going to be market instead of artificial zero.
Awesome. I like how bullish you are on Bitcoin and bearish you are on everything else. It's always my favorite part of talking to Anders. Gentlemen, we have definitely surpassed the 1 hour mark. So I'm gonna start wrapping up here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down the line and I'll let each of you do a few things. Number one, again, who you are and where they can find you, and any parting thoughts. So I'll start with Lishan. Go ahead.
Okay, you guys can find me on Twitter, Bitcoin Lixing, and also you can go to kobo.com/hardware wallet, so you can check out the Black Friday campaign for Cobo Vault, and don't miss it. If you miss it, you'll wait for another year.
Yes, do it. I'll pass it off to Brian.
Brian Lockhart, one word on Twitter. You'll find me now that the bull market is back. I'll probably be doing more frequent Seattle Bitcoin meetups. So if you want to join there, they'll be online for now because we're still under COVID lockdowns. I can't do anything in person with anyone, so I'll send out links if you guys want to show up to those. And yeah, I'm excited for everyone's bullishness here as well as my own. I'm looking forward to another. Geez, I'm coming up on my personal 10th year of playing with Bitcoin. So this will be kind of cool.
Ooh, buddy. Wow. And Anders, take it away.
Wow. Yeah. First of all, I mean, I really appreciate to be invited on a show. Why are you bullish on Bitcoin? I don't think my Friday can get any better than being asked why I'm bullish on Bitcoin. So thank you very much, Ben, and great to meet you guys. So I know you're going to have my Twitter link down below, right? But otherwise, if people search for Danish HODL, I'll come up. Otherwise, it's at Anders _ANDERS. And on there, you'll also find the link to my eToro profile. And I just want to say, because a lot of people, and I didn't touch upon that, they ask, but why should I allocate money to you when I can just buy Bitcoin? The answer is that my trade there, the 4-year cycle trade, is to take profits near the top of the bull run and then buy back in at half price if I can nail it in the bottom of the bear market. And that's why I'm also talking about there is that risk that there won't be a bear market, and that's what I'm focused on and concerned about. This is what I'm thinking about from morning to evening, pretty much. Also on my Twitter, you will find the link to my YouTube where I, together with Pop Lord, am hosting the Toxic Happy Hour, where we are toxic towards scams that are delaying the adoption of global found money. We just started this, like we've been talking on the phone for close to 2 years, and I needed some kind of kick behind, like in my butt, to get started doing YouTubes again, because I was really busy and got out of the habit last year. It was impossible. And then I told him, look, let's just put our conversation online, because we were just talking Bitcoin for hours every week. So that's what we did. We're having some great guests on. We've had Ben on. Just a couple of days ago, we had Matt Odell, which is just such a legend, talking also about security. That was just so much fun. So we have amazing guests lined up, where we haven't put the date on all of them yet. So I will, announce that when we get the actual dates. But Breedlove is one. We have the date already on him. So we're just having a lot of fun, just talking Bitcoin and meeting some really experienced, smart people, sharing their input and their angle on Bitcoin. Awesome. So that's the Toxic Happy Hour. All of those links are on my Twitter.
Awesome. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you again very much for joining me today. And thank you, everybody in the chat. Again, if you're on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button. It really helps get this in front of more people and pleases the algorithmic gods on YouTube. And if you're on Twitter or anywhere else, just give it a like, give it a share, whatever you got to do. Always helpful. Links for all of these guys, all of their Twitter links are in the show notes. Be sure to follow them, check them out. Don't miss that Cobo Vault deal. These guys have been killing it. So yeah, I guess I'm going to wrap it there. Gentlemen, I'll bid you adieu before I say my goodbyes to everybody. But I'll close off your videos now. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.
There we go. All right. So again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. It was a pleasure as always. If you really liked what you saw, you can always do a few things. Of course, like, subscribe, and share. All of those things, very, very important. Be sure to hit up the sponsors that I mentioned down below. That was LEDN. That was the guys over at Crypto Cloaks. That was Cobo, and that was Bitrefill. All that is down below. And if you really loved what you saw, you can always hit me up with a Lightning Network tip. at my tippin.me page. That is tippin.me/@BTC sessions. And with that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.